This is Brent Richardson, and welcome to the Business Minutia Podcast, where our focus is on the details of business that are often passed over by traditional classes and leadership training. We focus on the stories of real people who have tried, failed, and learned through their experiences and are willing to share their lessons with others.
I mean, you can't get better than having a baby on April Fool's Day.
Nobody believed us when we said that our kid was going to be born on April Fool's.
Well, and she was like supposed to be a scheduled cesarean, right? So the doctor is doing all these measurements and says that the baby's head is at 45 weeks. At 40 weeks is full term. The arm is at 43, full head of hair and over 10 pounds. We need to get her out now.
It was April Fool's. We pulled pranks on the doctor that day, too.
Oh, yeah. And the doctor also pulled pranks on us.
Yeah. The nurses required it. Actually, the nurses talked me into it, and then I realized at the time, right after I did it, I was like, this is a bad idea. Don't prank the doctor that's about to deliver your child. Right. But, you know, I guess I don't know any bounds when it comes to pranks.
Yeah.
I've just pranked everybody equally. No, I don't do it anymore, right? I did get to a point where I don't prank you very much.
You don't prank me.
I don't prank you at all, right? I'm terrified. Yeah, don't do that.
That's a bad
call. That's a bad call. Well, okay, I would make the argument, though, that I would prank people to make them feel included. It's an inclusiveness.
You don't want me to be included?
I don't need you to feel included. I keep you included all the time.
Oh.
Yeah, I make sure that's taking place independent, so pranks would backfire on me.
That's true.
Yeah. How did pranks begin? So this is the prank episode, and we've had a number of people. I've told so many prank stories over the year of office pranks that I've pulled and that I've seen pulled or observed pulled. And I don't do this anymore, but I have so many crazy stories that I had people that would say, you should do an episode on nothing but this. And so in honor of April Fool's, we are gonna go through and I'm just going to share some stories about some of my favorite pranks.
And we can't do like a disclaimer of no humans or animals were hurt in this.
We're going to do a disclaimer in the sense that if you repeat any of this, I am not responsible. I don't recommend, and I'm giving you the filtered version, right? I think I have pranks that I am not.
We've had to cut some.
Yeah, I am not proud to say I did.
Yep.
I have pranks that I've told people, and they looked at me like, I will never look at you the same way.
Right.
I can't believe you would ever do something. I'm like, what's that offensive? Come on. But I've done some pretty crazy stuff to include people. That's the name of the game. Sometimes it's not inclusiveness. Sometimes it's just mean.
Yes. Thank you for being honest.
Okay. Where did pranks begin? Early, I was trying to think about this the other day. Some of the first pranks that I pulled as a young man, we'll go early years and then I'll get into the corporate environment because I really mastered the pranks in the corporate environment. But early on, I remember my brother-in-law drove a Mazda when I was in high school. And I was helping him, I don't know, change his oil or change something. We were messing around with it and I was helping him out. And I realized the windshield wiper fluid that he had the sprayers that will spray the windshield on your windshield wiper.
Right.
But most of the time they're attached to the wipers themselves.
Okay.
At least today they are. His were not. They were attached to the hood.
Yeah.
And they were screwed in, right?
Yeah.
And we were looking at it, and I said, hey, what would prevent us from unscrewing that and pointing it outward instead of towards the windshield?
So that when you sprayed it, it actually hit the people behind.
He was like, why would you want to do that? I go, well,
goodness.
bikers and things like that. What about somebody who keeps their windshield? So we did this. And now we never took it to its far degree, but we wanted to put like dye, like blue dye or red dye in the windshield wiper fluid, and then pull up next to somebody that had a windshield down and just spray them straight in the face. So we didn't do that. We just sprayed. We did spray some bikers and things like that.
So everything that happened at this point forward was Brian's fault, is what I'm hearing.
Well, it wasn't Brian, it was Earl, but I'm trying not to name names here. I try not to name names. You can name Brian, I guess that wasn't Brian. It was my brother-in-law, Earl. And we had this great idea, and it was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. As a 16-year-old young man, it was the highlight of my day, right? So that's kind of some of the early pranks. Another really great one that I would say that's not corporate related, but some of the early pranks that I would pull, I loved to fish. Love to fish. And as a young man, I would fish illegally most of the time.
That's not a prank.
No, it's not a prank. But what is a prank is who I would fish with. I would fish with my cousin. And if you're illegally fishing, the way this works is you cast and you look over the hill to make sure somebody's not coming for you. And you're listening for a four-wheeler. You're listening for something out on this.
So when you say illegally fishing, you mean like you're on someone else's property.
That's right. I'm trespassing.
You jump their fence. You get over there on their pond or their lake, and you're fishing.
That's correct. Because that's the best fishing. The best fishing is places you're not supposed to be.
Oh.
Absolutely. Even I've caught way bigger fish legally, but I didn't have near as much fun.
So it's not the best fishing. Yeah. It's just the most fun.
That's correct.
Got it.
So one of my favorite things to do when I was fishing with my cousin illegally, we're always listening. We're always watching the hill. We're always trying to make sure we don't get caught. He has gotten caught, by the way. I won't tell that story. That's his story to tell, not mine. But one of my favorite things to do is I would wait until he either cast a perfect cast way out there into a perfect spot or hooked a fish. And then I would go, oh no! And I would take off running as if
my goodness.
as if I hurt somebody. And I did a couple times, and I would just hide in the woods waiting for him he's scrambling, trying to get his gear together. And then I'm in the woods just laughing hysterically, waiting on, he would be so mad.
That is not nice.
No, that's not inclusiveness. And that's just being a jerk. Right?
Yeah.
So, well, what about the corporate world? So once we got into the corporate environment, okay, I was probably like a grade D prankster, right? I knew a little bit, but I wasn't an expert, right? I get into the corporate environment. These people brought their A game. I mean, these folks, and I started to hear and get visions. I started to hear one of the first stories I remember hearing. It's not my story, but I'll tell somebody else's. And you probably heard something similar to this in the past. An office drawer. So you have a drawer at a desk in an office. You pull that out, you lay plastic liner on the inside. Good thick plastic liner that will hold water. And you fill it with water and you put goldfish in it.
Goldfish in the drawer.
Yeah, instant fish, guppies, whatever you want.
I'm guessing you're not talking crackers.
No, live fish, right? And there's something crazy about one of your coworkers opening their drawer to grab a pen only to realize they've got goldfish in there. And what are they going to do with that, right? And I thought, that's pretty crazy. That was the first prank stories I heard. And then we kind of just ran wild with it.
Now, your dad also used to do some pranks. Didn't he, answer the phone and say weird things?
He would, yeah. So maybe I got some of it from him, but not the level that we're going to talk about. So let me give you an example, okay? So this started to get out of control. It started out mild, okay? It started out mild and then eventually got to the point where we all had to declare ceasefire. Okay, let's stop. This is too much. But when I say mild, one of my favorite things to do, if you leave your phone sitting next to me and it's unlocked, I'm putting it in Spanish or Portuguese or something else. You just don't leave it there next to me.
That's not something you've ever let go of.
No, I've done that forever. Yeah. As soon as cell phones became a thing that people had, I figured out that I could put it in Spanish or some other language that you don't understand. But
speaking of phones, you also had one where, didn't you throw somebody's phone through the ceiling tiles?
You're close. We put it in Portuguese, and then we climbed up into the ceiling tiles above the office and we threw it as far as we could. I think I stole this from The Office. I think that might have been something that Jim Halpert had done to Dwight, and we threw it as far as we could. So it's way down there. We had it max volume so he could hear it. And then he'd be like, "Does anybody see my phone? I don't know, let me call it for you."
Goodness.
And you can hear it, and it's in the rafters, and he's, sorting through, trying to find it, and he finally gets it.
And this is someone you call a friend.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I like that guy. Yeah. He's a lot of fun. Maybe you'll listen to this one day. He'll be like, "Come on, man, you forgot this one story. What about this one time?"
Right, and then I remember...
Well, hold on. We also left it in Portuguese.
So once he finally found it. And how long did it take him to find it?
I don't know. We just sat in our offices laughing hysterically as he was trying to get his voicemail. And he was saying, "Chamada all what? What does this mean?" I don't know. Is anybody else's phone in Portuguese? No. It's probably just yours.
You also had a time where you turned everything upside down in somebody's office, right?
Yeah, we took that guy's, it was the same guy. We took everything in his office and turned it all upside down. Everything. Drawers, everything, flipped everything upside down, computer, monitor, everything.
Right.
Actually, flipping people's office supplies upside down, that's easy. That's not the real fun one. I remember the next escalation. Now, keep in mind, this isn't all one way. Like, I'm getting pranked all the time, and these are just retaliatory pranks, and so they just escalate and escalate and escalate. So,
Right.
after the cell phone incident, I don't remember what my punishment was, but it was always bad. It was usually like I would find that my office smelled terrible. And then I would find like Parmesan cheese and milk hiding in a corner, right? And then everybody in the office going like, "What is your office?
Not funny.
Can you take a shower?" And I'm like, "Come on, man! I don't smell like this. Sounds like a cat came in here and did its business. It's terrible, right?" So, those are. I'll get to some of the pranks that have been pulled on me in retaliation here in a second, but the escalation of that one is the one that I remember, and that's with the same guy, and we. Back then, your mouse today doesn't have a mouse ball in it, right? But back in the day, they did. They had a trackball that was inside the mouse, and you could take that thing out. That was the first thing. I think that was the last thing that we did. So what we would do is we would go on if you left your computer unlocked, bad idea. Oh, we will wreak all kinds of havoc on you. It's just terrible. Like, I will get you spammed. Because if you leave it open, I can get access to your email.
Right.
So I can go sign you up for all kinds of crazy spam.
Awesome.
Because most of these spam websites are like, "Are you sure you want this?" And they'll send you an email. Well, I have access to your email. Yes, I do. Send me all the Japanese Xerox instruction manuals. I would like one a day, please. Right?
That's
and then
mean.
my friend saying, "Are you guys getting any emails about Japanese Xerox machines?" No,
that's
don't
special
happen
for
to be.
you.
So we would spam people if you left your stuff unlocked. But one of my favorites is with this one individual that left his computer unlocked on a regular basis. And we said, well, we want to make sure we train him not to do that. And so we would.
It's training.
Yeah.
It's corporate training.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not
okay.
evil or manipulative. So we
It's continuing education.
Continuing education. You can go in and calibrate your mouse. Most people don't know this, but you can calibrate your mouse and say, when I point to the bottom left, like,
I would like to go to the bottom left.
Well, we would go through that calibration process and do the exact opposite of everything. So the mouse is inverted. And then we would flip the buttons. You can do that too.
Oh my goodness.
We would adjust the scroll speed. We would do everything possibly wrong with the mouse.
Readjust that?
Oh, I don't know. With a lot of pain and suffering because I'm not
his
done.
problem,
I'm not
yours.
done. I'm not done. We would change all of that in the software. Before we would do that, though, we would pull up a website. At the time, I don't remember what it was called. It's like Ninja something another, and it had some weird music in the background. So we'd have that website up, playing max volume on the person's speakers, have all of the mouse inverted, every direction possible, take the mouse ball out, and then unplug the keyboard and the mouse itself from the back of the computer. Now, this is before laptops. This is, everybody had a desktop. So you got to get down on the floor and dig down in there to solve that problem. So all they know is they come back from lunch and there's a crowd of people outside their office going, "Could you please control the volume on your machine?"
So you are messing with everybody in the office at this point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Equal opportunity.
That is awful. Okay, so tell me some icy hot stories, because now you got some icy hot stories.
We did escalate over to icy hot. It didn't take long after that. I don't think I did the icy hot first, but if you've not pranked anybody with icy hot, you're missing out. And if you don't know what icy hot is, it's intended to be like a muscle relaxing kind of stuff. If you've got sore muscles, you put this on.
Whatever is in it drives cats crazy. I
That's
know
true.
that for sure.
That's true. It also burns like fire.
Yeah.
And if
that's
you're not
the hot part.
if you're not expecting it,
Right.
it gets pretty hot pretty quick. Well, the obvious thing to do with that is to lace the inside of a phone with it.
Oh, like the old pick up the
Yeah.
phone button
Yeah.
phone.
Absolutely. So you'd hear your buddy over there on the phone talking with a customer, and he's talking. Yeah, hold on just a minute. And he rubs his ear, and he switched it to the other ear because the other ear was on fire. And then he rubs that one for a while, and eventually he puts it on hold, and he yells
I
over,
can honestly
"Is anybody
say-
else's ear on fire?"
I have never done icy hot on the phone. I have done icy hot on the water faucet.
Yeah, toilet seat's a great one too. Yeah, icy hot on the toilet seat. No, that's an old
Yeah,
youth
because
camp.
after you wash your hands and you're going to turn off and on that water faucet and you get icy hot.
It's not good.
No, it's not
Especially when
good.
you rub your eyes.
Exactly
Had
right.
that happen too. You got to
Yep.
be careful with that icy hot. Definitely want to watch out with them. But icy hot's a great prank. Great prank. Be careful with it. But that one I've used many, many times.
And it seems like I remember a water soaked chair.
That was the final straw. I think that was the one that was like the end. Like when we did the yeah, we'll get to the one here in a second that caused the escalation that kind of got things out of control. But the last straw was I had a big glass of water, and in our office we had these chairs that were foam. They're not leather. They're like foam based chairs.
Right.
And so I would just go carry this glass of water, and if you slowly poured the water on the foam chair, it would soak it up. If you just poured it straight on it, it would all go off immediately. But if you slowly poured it, it would soak. All that water would soak in that foam chair.
I'm just imagining someone sitting in that chair.
Yeah, he came in with his khakis and he sat on that foam chair, and he had to go home for the day. He was done.
That is cruel.
That was the one that he had to go home, and he had a meeting that was important, and so we all kind of got slapped on the wrist a little bit. That was
okay. You can't talk.
The end of it.
You can't talk about the big one. That's got to be your closer.
Okay,
That's got to be your closer.
Big one for the closer.
So let's talk about some of your pranks that were done on you.
Well, you're missing the one here about cases where I also made people really upset, places where I made people really mad. I had one where there was a guy, and he wound up working for me later. And I wouldn't have done, like, once I managed people, I stopped. It just felt wrong. I just couldn't do it anymore, right? I think I felt like I could manage inclusion in a different way, or I should.
Right.
But we had some cases in the parking lot, at least in our parking lot at work, there would be these, you'd have parking space, and then a line of those, and then you'd have like a tree. Right,
like
a decorative
tree island,
a little tree island in the parking lot, right, to make you feel like it's not a concrete jungle,
right?
And then you should have grass or something in there. In our case, we just had rocks. It was just filled with rocks, lower maintenance. Well, if you left your window open, or if you drove a truck, I just thought it was neat to take those rocks and put them in your window.
Why would you put rocks in someone's window?
I don't know. I just thought, if I got in my vehicle and be like, why are there rocks in my car? What's going on? That was just enough of a puzzling thing to make, and it worked. People would be like, I think somebody's messing with me. I found rocks in my car.
See,
right?
I would immediately think like a bird.
It made this one particular guy really mad. He got really upset. He found out it was me, and he punished me pretty severely with a prank that was like, okay, relax. Okay, you don't have to take it to
the bed of the truck, that would be annoying.
Yeah, I put a lot of rocks in beds of people's trucks, because then
annoying.
you're driving around, you're rocks slinging all over the place, trying to figure out what the heck's going on. I did that to one guy, and he was convinced that some neighbor kids in his apartment complex were doing it.
I would assume the same thing.
And he was ready to go talk to parents, and
you got someone else in trouble.
This gets out of control in a hurry. The best pranks are where somebody else gets blamed for it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that was like ideal if I could pull up. But the thing is, when you start to do these too many times, everybody looks at you and is like,
right. Like the foreign language on a phone at this point is just like, everyone knows you did that.
Yes.
Everyone knows you did that. It has backfired.
Yes. And so I had to stop doing pranks, because somebody else would prank somebody and I'd get blamed for it. And I'd be like, look, I don't do that anymore. Right. Although I was actually, once I was a manager, I stopped doing it like that. And I would just go talk to somebody in the team and say, hey, Tom? Yeah. Tom, he looks like he doesn't feel like he's part of the team.
Right.
I wonder if there was something we could do to make him feel like he was part of the team.
Well, and it's just...
And they would say, you mean take him to lunch? I was thinking like that, but like something different. Oh, right. You mean prank the guy. We got it. I never said that.
Well, and you have kind of become a legend in this arena, because I know that sometimes we will be meeting people that you work with, and they're like, oh, Brent, tell us about the time that this happened. And tell us about the
I usually get a lot of prank story requests. People
it's just
about.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You're like the godfather of pranks.
Yeah. Yeah. In the sense that I didn't do any of the work.
In the sense that you're very old.
In the sense I'm very old.
You're very old. But there have been some great pranks that have been against you.
Yes.
I remember you lead a lot of trips for youth in the summer. And I remember someone texting me a video of you sleeping on one of these trips. And somebody had grabbed your phone.
With my phone.
Taken a video of you sleeping.
Yes.
Snoring.
Yes.
Drooling. and
Yes.
then sent it to me.
Open mouth, jello neck, head bob. I was getting after it, sleeping on this train in Peru.
It was fantastic.
And what's great is the kid that took the video, I
Yeah.
had been teasing about the kid being narcoleptic because every time I turned around, he was sleeping wherever we were, he would fall asleep.
Right.
Right. And he was a great kid, really good kid. And then sure enough, he got the video of me. And then he sent it to you.
Oh, yeah.
Via my phone, which
Oh, I
was like,
loved
that's
it.
top shelf.
I loved it.
I even
Yeah.
told him, I was like, I'll
Props,
shake your
my
hand. That's a
friend.
good prank.
Props.
That's pretty good. And then I think, didn't we post it on social media
Yeah.
and a bunch of teenagers came out of the woodwork? Like, that's what you get. Because I pranked,
Right.
I have
They loved
pranked
it.
teenagers for the last 25 years, maybe more than anybody.
Right.
The teenagers get lots of pranks.
But teenagers realize that when they prank you, you escalate quickly.
Oh, I make sure they understand to be very afraid of pranking me because I
And-
will escalate heavily.
And if you can ask us when we are not on the podcast, any of our listeners can ask us stories, because there was one that escalated so bad that I am surprised that
Wasn't
the
my
police
idea, but yeah, it got.
were not involved. It got really bad. And that was just in response to people wrapping our house.
Yeah, that one's not podcast friendly. I can't
No, no, but it is a
Gonna get me arrested.
fantastic story.
Yes, yes.
And then there was one time where you lost your wallet.
Yeah, this is not too long ago, actually. This is a few years ago where I set my wallet down at Heathrow when I was with a group traveling, and we were going from Heathrow to Glasgow to Scotland. And I'd left my wallet sitting there, and I think I'd taken a bunch of stuff out of my bag, and I thought the wallet was somebody else's, and I didn't grab it, and which is a terrifying thing for most folks. But luckily, the friends I was with were good enough to grab the wallet and then not tell me about it until I got to Glasgow. So at the end of the flight, I'm sitting here digging through trying to get my wallet, knowing that I'm going to have to get an Uber or pay for a cab or something.
Right.
And I can't find it anyway. And they have video of me ravaging my bag trying to figure out what happened to my wallet. And they're just getting a good kick out of it, right? So I have gotten plenty of justice the other way. And of course, like you mentioned, I've had my house wrapped multiple times,
yeah.
which is just the nature of working with teenagers.
Right. Okay, so if you are listening right now, now is the time to get out a pen and paper, because we've got some that are actually replicatable. You can do these and really mess with people's
These are some
heads.
of my favorite pranks that I've pulled.
Oh, yeah.
And I would do them again if
Yeah.
I felt comfortable. But it's better for me to tell other people so they can go enjoy these.
Right.
If you're trying to-
One of my favorite that we did is, I remember one year I could not go to youth camp when we were pastoring at a church. I couldn't go. So I was trying to figure out some gags that you could play on the teenagers while you were there. And we got the Little Debbie snack cakes.
Little Debbie
The
snack
little
cakes.
Jello
The
rolls.
Swiss rolls.
Oh, yes.
Swiss rolls.
And I
They have
went.
the strawberry filling and the
Yeah.
cream.
Yeah. And I went into the
That's an elaborate
hot,
prank.
went into the hot sauce aisle and tried to find the hottest thing there. And I found some that had an inappropriate name to it, but was apparently very, very hot.
Gringo killer, I believe, is the term.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Inappropriate name that you were evidently very comfortable saying. And then we grabbed a needle and we got it in that hot sauce.
I don't know. Somebody asked me, "How did you have a needle?" I think it had something to do with some of the medical issues that our oldest daughter had.
Yes.
And so we had syringes or something.
Yes.
And so you have that cellophane wrapper that goes around the snack cake.
Right.
And so you can't unwrap it and then rewrap it.
No,
Or I
then
didn't
it would
fi- I
be
couldn't-
clear.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how.
It would be a problem.
But I thought, well, I can inject it.
Yep.
With this hot sauce.
Yep.
Right through the cellophane, and it still looks legit.
And then you saved those.
It
you
worked.
saved those
It worked
until
so
the
well.
last day of camp.
So these teenagers would see me with the snack cakes, and I had two boxes. I had one that was not doctored and one that was.
Right.
And so they would see me throughout the week. This is so evil. This is so bad. It's such a great prank.
It really is.
They would see me throughout the week eating these. They'd be like, "Oh, I love those snack cakes. Wish I could have some." Yeah, yeah. And then by Wednesday, I was like, "Hey, you know what? You guys have been great this week. I'm going to share some of these with you." And of course, I bust out the one that's doctored,
Oh,
fully
my
loaded with this
goodness.
death sauce. And I had these two brothers that I got with it, and I won't name their names, but they were awesome. I love these guys. They were some of my favorite kids to work with when we were working at the church there. And they the first one came in, the oldest, I think, and he's like, oh, those Swiss cakes, these are great. And I'm like, yeah, here, you can have one. He's like, oh, these are so good. And he's just, halfway through the thing before he realized, and the look on his face when he's like halfway through and he looks up and he goes, no. And he runs to the bathroom, right? He goes run into the bathroom. His brother then walks in and sees him and goes, what's wrong? I almost said his name. So, what's wrong with him? And he sees him in like his mouth under the sink, just trying to get some relief from this death sauce, right? And then he sees him and he goes, what's wrong with him? He looks at me and he goes, hey, Swiss cakes, these are great. Then I got him too. And he's halfway through the first one. And I'm like hiding so they can't see me laughing because I'm about to pee myself laughing so hard, right? And he gets halfway through it and he looks at me immediately and goes, what'd you do? Of course, he's on all fours on the ground, just gasping for air. Right? So, yes, quite evil, but that's one of my. You can pull that off. That one's doable.
Oh, there are so many fun things to do with food, though.
Yes.
And, okay, so one of my favorites has a build up to it. We used to go to Golden Corral.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is a great story.
We would go to Golden Corral
in college.
We would sit at a table where you could see that the potato bar and the ice cream bar
they were next to each other.
Are right next to each other.
Yeah.
So the condiments for each are in between the two machines.
Yeah.
And come to find out, sour cream and whipped cream look remarkably the same.
Yes, and they both have sprinkles and chives in them.
And you could see people. And, getting the whipped cream on your potato
you hope
isn't that bad.
You hope that's the error.
Getting sour cream on your ice cream. And people would put such effort into making this perfect, beautiful sundae. They have their ice cream just like they like it.
But Jamie, you would go up and tell them when they got it wrong, right?
Oh, gosh, no. I would just laugh. And I remember one time they came in and they put the fresh sour cream out. And I put sprinkles in the sour cream.
Oh, you're evil. You're evil. What I remember is the kid that we watched that got roasted by this, right? So there was maybe a 7-year-old kid, and we're sitting there watching, and I'm going, should we tell him? Nah. And you can see the parents, they must have been instructors in college, so they look like they're professors or something, and the parents are fighting about something. It was another language. I had no idea.
Right.
They were fighting with each other. The kid's over there just loading up on sour cream on his ice cream. He is having an ice cream sundae with more sour cream than ice cream.
Right.
Goes and sits down at the table. We're sitting here just already crying, laughing before he even takes a bite.
And he has got that spoon of joy ready to dive in. And gets a mouthful of sour cream.
And he spits it on the table immediately. He was like, eject. And the dad looks at him and yells something in another language, like, what are you doing? Smacks the kid, grabs the ice cream, gets a mouthful himself, and the dad spits it on the table too. Oh my goodness, I could not hold the laughter in.
So after learning that, about 5 years later, we took that into our youth group.
Yeah, we've done some pretty nasty pranks related to this one, yeah.
And we got a pint size of homemade vanilla ice cream.
Well, Bluebell homemade vanilla looks remarkably the same as frozen mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Like remarkably the same. Identical. You cannot tell them apart.
So we cleaned out...
Which is good information to have.
So we cleaned out one container of the homemade vanilla ice cream and filled it with sour cream. Put the lid on
with
top.
Mayonnaise.
And mayonnaise. And froze it.
And froze it. Yeah. And then we had a pint ice cream eating contest.
Yep.
Where I had regular ice cream.
Yep.
And the teenager competing with me had frozen mayonnaise.
And he had no idea.
No. And that was fantastic. That's one of the multiple food pranks that we've pulled. One of the others is the frozen Snicker bar. We would have a Snicker bar, king-size Snicker bar eating contest.
Yep.
Who can eat it the fastest? Guaranteed teenagers and be like, I'll try. I get a free candy bar, I'm in.
Right.
Except yours is frozen and mine is not.
Right.
Right. And we'll tell everybody, hey, these are frozen, so let's see who can eat one the fastest.
Yeah.
And I would pretend like mine was difficult to eat, but I would just sit there and devour it like it was no problem at all. Right. So that one's a decent one that you can put in your back pocket.
No trust issues, right? No trust issues among the youth.
What about the alien mask?
Oh, my goodness. You still do these masks. You have a collection of how many masks now?
I think I've got 7.
And you love scaring the kids.
I do. I've had to stop because they're just going to get me back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I say that. No, I scared a kid yesterday. That's not true. That's not true. If I get an opportunity to scare somebody, I tend to do it. And the masks I have are not scary. I have like a horse head mask, a duck mask. The horse head mask is great because we would have people that we'd have these birthday parties with our kids when they were younger. And, one of the things people like to do is they'll drop their kid off at the birthday party and treat it like childcare. Like the parent's gone.
Yep.
And the people who the parents, bail, usually their kid is the biggest pain in the neck, right? They're the ones in there causing all kinds of chaos.
And we know neither the kid nor the parent.
And the parent was gone. And then, of course, those are the people that are like an hour late.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I've been babysitting their kid for an extra hour, right? And so when the parent...
After we fed them ice cream, if we had known that, we wouldn't have
I
fed them sugar.
Anything. So when the parent finally showed up, I answered the door with a horse head mask on just to make it as awkward as possible. And it worked. Highly successful.
Okay. So the end all, the creme de la creme of prank jokes.
Okay, the final send off, and this was the one that I think caused the final escalation. This one was about a 2-year prank, so it was an elaborate prank.
Yeah.
We have this thing in our office where if we have really great security folks to help protect us, for not security from the outside, but they're trying to protect and make sure not only your stuff is not getting stolen in the office, but also we've got great security that prevents people from coming in and stealing our intellectual property. You got to have your badge and all that stuff, right? As a lot of companies do. But one of the things that our security folks would do is they would walk through in the evenings and identify that, hey, you have things sitting out, you left a wallet, things like that. And they would give you what's called a security violation.
Okay.
And it was their way of kind of reminding you that, hey, you need to get this under control.
Right. Be careful.
And there was always this rumor that if you got more than 3, and you could also get parking violations and speeding violations, on
in the
campus,
parking
lot, things like that. So they would all look kind of similar. They would have these little violations they would give you. Well, one night I was working with with a coworker, and we had gone to grab some dinner because we were working late, came back and noticed that like half the office had gotten security violations.
Okay,
right?
like legit security violations for leaving stuff out on their desks.
Yeah. Unsecured product.
Right.
You've got parts sitting out or something that you're not supposed to have or something. Or again, like if you left your purse or a bag or something like that, they would say they would give you a security violation. So I had this great idea. I was like, I can mimic the security violation because it looked like it was carbon paper, so it had like a replicated copy.
Right.
So I couldn't duplicate that because I didn't have any carbon paper that I could do. Otherwise, I'd have done that, right? Because that's how detailed I would go in, how deep I would go into the prank world to make this happen.
Right.
So, but I did have this great idea. I was talking to the guy that I was with working late that night. I said, I think I can duplicate this in PowerPoint. I think I can duplicate this. I'll just the challenge is everybody's is on this vellum paper, and I'll have to replace everyone's with regular stock paper.
Okay, so wait.
So they wouldn't be in on they say, why does this one look this way? So I duplicated every one of them in the office.
Everybody in the office ended up. So did you give them artificial ones or real ones?
I gave them duplicates of the ones that they actually got.
They earned.
So that they would not realize that these weren't on vellum paper in the future. That's elaborate, right?
Yeah, that's like
elaborate.
next level.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked really well.
This is a man with a lot of time.
Well, okay. That's one thing we were talking about before is like, was it pure boredom that drove this? No, I think my first 3 years in corporate life was difficult. It was a tough transition, and there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of strain, there's pressure for schedules, there's all those things, and so this was just comic relief for us.
So you took everybody's in the office, you duplicated it, and you gave it to them. Okay, that does not sound like an elaborate prank.
Not yet, but what that now enables me to do is to give anybody security violations anytime I want to, and I did.
Just randomly.
And I did. Yeah, one of my favorites is you would get security violations for unsecured product, meaning you had like some kind of thing you're selling, whatever widget you're selling, right? And somebody had left some on your desk or something. That was pretty common is, hey, I'm going to bring these parts by so you can blah, blah, blah. And so stuff would be left in someone's office. We would take the things out of that person's office and put them in the office next to them and give that person a security violation.
This isn't funny. This is just mean.
They're like, not only is that not my stuff, but it was delivered to the wrong place. Why am I getting a violation?
And there's this underlying fear of, if I get so many of these, I am probably going to get in trouble.
That was the fear. You always were told if you got 3, you were fired, and that's clearly not true.
But they're bound to see that you are the only one in the office not getting security violations.
Oh, I would give myself some too.
Brent,
you come on, Jamie.
Brent.
Come on, Jamie. If you're going to go you got to bring your A game.
There
were legends before my time, and I'm standing on their shoulders. You got to bring your A game.
So did any of these people ever take the security violation to security and say, hey?
Of course not. They're too terrified to do that. So I didn't care if they would or not. Then it escalated to the parking lot. Okay, so
the parking lot.
We came in from lunch one day, and one of the senior guys in the office had a brand new car, and it was just a gorgeous car. And we talked to one of the guys who were coming in from lunch, drove this enormous truck, and we said, what if we parked so close to that guy he couldn't get in his vehicle? That'd be a funny prank. So sure enough, he did. And as I'm walking in from lunch and we're laughing about this, the other guy and I that are both in on the fake prank that these guys that we've been working for 6 months, he looks over at me, he goes, hey, that's security violation? He goes, wouldn't it work as a parking violation too? I said, I don't see why not. So we gave him a parking violation for parking too close to the guy.
You parked too close to him? And then you gave him?
We talked this guy into parking too close to him. And then we gave him a security violation. It's way worse. It's way worse. And then we were like, well, when should we tell this guy? At some point. So that night, I actually was working with the guy. I saw the guy out working on some equipment that we both worked on. And he goes, man, that guy wrote me up. I'm sure he called and wrote me up and got me in trouble. And I was like, man, maybe I should tell this guy. But it was too great a prank. I didn't want to let it go yet. So I kept it going.
So when did you
how
finally?
Am I still employed? This is crazy.
And when did you finally tell him?
Well, we had a reorg, and when we were reorganizing, he was supposed to go work for that guy, and he was going to quit. He had threatened to quit the company completely, and I said, hey, man, it's just a goof.
Yeah, he did not think it was funny.
Oh, my goodness. He had a wallpaper of these security. He was proud of them. He had gotten to, once he realized he wasn't going to get fired, he was proud of them. And the boss even knew we were in on it. And the boss was like, guys, come on. Can you, like, it's gone too far. And we finally had to let him know.
Yeah, but when you became the boss, you had to.
I stopped, yeah.
You had to stop.
I stopped. So.
But now you are passing on your greatness to your listeners so they can continue on.
Hey, a good prank that's not too far escalated. Some of these examples are probably too far for you, but you gotta. It needs to be proportional, to whatever. But
you are never proportional.
I'm not. I tend to go 2 layers above. I will go straight past the double dare and go straight to the triple dog dare when it comes to pranks.
Yeah, when the fire station gets called.
I do when literally. Okay, that's I can't tell that story on a podcast. But if you know me privately, you can buy me a drink and I might tell you the story. But hey, I think pranks can be something that create an environment of inclusiveness as long as they're in good spirit and they're not something that they really can make people feel integrated and part of the team. You got to be careful.
But if you're willing to deal it, you've got to be willing to take it.
You've got to be willing to take it. And I have been pranked so many times, and I just roll with it. I don't know how many times I've picked up my headset and immediately gone, that's icy hot. They got me. That's icy hot. That's all right. You know how many times I've done that? I probably had that coming. Yeah.
So what is the best prank that you have ever pulled or pulled on someone else? Put that out on social media this week.
Yes, these are some of my examples of the ones that I can tell you, but I would like to hear from you guys. Better pranks than this. Let's hear it.
Happy April Fools.
Happy April Fools. Have a good week.